At least we, two laps.
We did like 5 laps.
2 laps is too many. Too
Free
many.
candy.
Well, we do 2 laps, we walk it, then go spread out on the football field.
That's
Take our mask off of it.
That's fine.
Halloween's
Two
the
laps,
only
two
day that parents allow the kids to get as much stuff they want.
Amazing. Hello, everybody.
I can just go to more clothes, I can just skate everywhere. I'll just stay on the skateboard.
I think y'all have everybody full.
I just have a mask with just dark clothes on. And silky gloves that don't go on the My brother's pumpkin. My brother's pumpkin. He used to carve it on Halloween.
Almost as every one day.
It was pumpkin pie. Squishing it.
Very excited to be back.
No.
I had to
Yes.
throw it. It was messy.
So I saw some of you had some issues with the STAR test, which is okay. It's fine. If you weren't able to do it, that's what we're gonna spend 9th period doing. Got lots of emails, which is great, but again, when you're at home, try to read the directions, because I gave you usernames and passwords. I said if you can't log in, all is okay. We're gonna do it when we come back to the building. So some of us kind of started panicking and sending me lots of emails that wasn't working, but it is all good. Yes, but some of you were able to get in done, which was good. That's really all I was trying to do yesterday, was get hopefully about half of you done with it. And then those of you that were able to do it will get hooked in today. Those of you at home that were not able to get into the STAR test, we'll just do that whenever you come back on Monday. Not the end of the world, so we have that last period. Okay, we are moving into lesson 10, which is, I don't have it in the book because it's a lot of graphing. So if you go into Google Classroom, there is a link for Desmos, yes. It is, trust me, it is a lot easier to do this on the iPad than on paper. Lots of graphs, it's graphing. You want to draw a graph by hand? Or you just want to tap your screen to make a point? I see what you did there.
I did what? I didn't do that one on purpose.
But it worked. So take a minute to log in. If you're at home, you can click on the link for Desmos. I'm gonna go through the attendance. So it is a clunkier process, so we'll just go with
Is
it.
it the first thing?
It says live lesson, Desmos. You should open it up and it's gonna take you right to what this is. And then I'll share my screen with you at home right now so you can log in, or you can just watch the screen and listen to us as we go. So just take a minute to log in. You can start working on that first screen. It's just asking you to plot the points, explain what you notice in that graph. Because I'm just going through the attendance, and it is a lot more annoying. There's a lot of us not logged in. Okay, leave on. Sorry. Okay, now we're in the letter.
Any yellow blocks explained by the users about the graph.
It's perfect. Like that. Perfect.
When you say, no, you, just word. Either way.
Okay, so are we logging in? Are we starting to work?
Either way.
Okay. I'm standing out there for 3 minutes, no one's doing any points. Plot those points. So we have 0, 10, 1, 8, 2, 6. Do you guys remember how to plot points? Did you do this last year? Yeah. It's okay. So if we have the point 0, 10, is the first number your x coordinate or your y coordinate? Do you remember that much? Sitting? The bottom one. So your first number tells you how far over, the second number tells you how far up. So if it's 0, 10,
It will be 0, 10.
I go over, left or right 0, up 10, plot my point. How do I move to make the point 1, 8?
8.
So go ahead. Over right 1, up 8, plot the point. So you can see it's easier to do this on the iPad. Typically it's not, but we're not writing anything. RJ, 2, 6.
You will go over to 2, go up to 6, plot the point.
Perfect. So then over 3, up 4, over 4, up 2. So plot your points. If you click that line tool, so if you click that second box next to your pen, you're going to be able to draw a straight line. So draw a straight line through your points. It's easier than just kind of sketching it in. So draw it so you can connect your points to a line. And then the box is asking us, what do we notice about the graph? So we started looking at graphs on Tuesday with that Desmos that we were doing with the Giants. What do we notice about the graph? Anything we notice? Anything at all? Sydney?
The lines are going to make a line.
What?
The lines not going to make a straight line.
So the points are matching up and the lines are matching up and we have a nice straight line. What else do we notice?
They are all going diagonal.
They're all going diagonal. I was actually reading that as you were writing it on your name right there. So the points on the graph keep going down. Brooke is saying why it is okay. We are logged in. If you click on the first link in Google Classroom, it's going to take you to a Desmos.
Where's the
In the way.
It's just the email you're missing every time.
In the way.
Anything else you want to say about the graph? Where's the graph starting? RJ?
It's starting off to go to 0, 10, and it's going by 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 for from 0 to 4.
So my graph's starting way up here at 10, nice straight line. So we're talking about graphs that look like this today. How can we tell if it's proportional or not proportional? Go ahead.
So what the how the X and Y axes are, and Y and also Y angle.
So she's saying how my X and my Y axis are with the line diagonal coming down. It's forming a right angle and it looks like a nice neat right triangle.
And
RJ?
it's also going 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Oh, you're talking about the points.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm looking at my points here, I can see my Y coordinates are counting by 2s. What are my X coordinates counting by?
1.
1s. Does that seem like it might be proportional? Consistently counting by 2s, consistently counting by 1s?
Yes.
Does that seem like a nice pattern in a table? Maybe. That's the kind of stuff we're gonna look at today. Okay, I'm gonna flip your screen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change your screen. Some t-shirts cost $8 each. So I have a table filled in. We're gonna answer questions A, B, and C in that box right to the left. So all I know is that some t-shirts cost $8. There's a table. It's just labeled as X and Y. It doesn't tell me what the label is. So in that table, what do you think the X value represents?
I know,
Parker?
8.
No, 8. 8's over here. So 8's in my Y column. So some t-shirts cost $8 each. So what do you think all of these numbers stand for? Chris?
The amount of t-shirts.
The amount of t-shirts. So in the box, type question A. How do you know that's the amount of t-shirts?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it says some t-shirts cost $8 and there's an 8 there. And then there's a 1, so that costs $8.
Perfect. So translating that sentence, $8, he sees the 8. Right next to it is my 1 for each shirt. So then what does that mean my Y column stands for? How much money? The t-shirts. Is there a proportional relationship in the table? Anybody want a calculator? Maybe don't really need one, but that's, does anybody want one? Calculators, anybody? Figure out if my table is proportional. Answer question C. So if you're at home, you can also, I see some of you answering C. See some of you writing a number, I see some of you even writing the label, so that's good. If you're answering the number, try to think about what that unit would be.
Oh, there's the one.
What if, is my table proportional? What are we seeing? Just thinking you want to. How do you know it's proportional? I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just looking at your answer and asking you about it. So what are we saying, yes or no? Chris,
Yes,
how do we know that it's proportional?
because if you divide, everything on Y by 8, then you get the amount of shirts.
Perfect explanation. If we divide the Y column by 8, you get the amount of shirts. So our constant of proportionality is 8, and then I saw some of you writing the unit at home. What would my unit be? It's 8 what? Sitting. So it's getting confusing because when we're looking at the table, we can't see the labels. So we're asking ourselves how to word it. So think about what we called the X and the Y. Chris?
$8.
$8, not just $8. Constants of proportionality always something per something else. So $8 per,
Cost.
no, Sydney, t-shirt. So $8 per t-shirt. So that's how you would word your constant of proportionality. It's always the Y for one X. Take a minute to plot those points on the graph. So your entire table, go over and up, plot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points, and then connect them like we just did on the other page.
I already did it.
So plot those points, and then we're gonna talk about the graph. So then when everyone's done, I'm gonna ask, what we notice about this and what makes it different from what we just looked at before.
It's hard to do because
So just plot your points, 1, 8, 2, 16, 3, 24, 4, 32. Might be kind of hard to see the bottom, but do your best to estimate.
it was hard to do because there's like no numbers between like the 10 and like the.
So RJ's bringing up a good point that this graph's also harder because it looks like I'm counting by 10s on the Y. You can't see all of the numbers, so you kind of have to do some estimating. So whenever I go to graph the point 1, 8, I'm gonna come over here so that my stuff's not in the way. So I come over to 1, and then where would I put 8? Because I don't see the line, I just have 0 to 10. So how can I figure out where to put it? RJ?
Right by where, you know, the last line is.
Perfect. So I know halfway between 0 and 10 is 5. So I want to at least go past my halfway point, and then 8 is closer to 10 than it is to 5. So I'm going to estimate it to be about right there.
I put it on the actual line because it was hard to do.
Yeah, that's fine too. Chris?
Mine counts by 20.
That's okay. I don't know why, but. So then what do we have? 2, 16. So do our best to estimate that. Whoop. 3, 24. So again, I know the 5th place comes right in between 20 and 30. So if I'm going 3 to 24, it's a little bit lower. And then I have 4, 32, 5, 40. That one's easy. It falls right on the line. And then 6 and 48. So you plot the points, pick your line tool, connect them. It might not fall all directly on that line. Why do you think that is? Why does it look like some of my points are a little bit above or below my line? Cindy?
Because of 37 or in between numbers.
Right, because of those weird in-between numbers that I had to estimate, it was hard to figure out exactly where they would go. But if we're looking, what do we notice about this graph?
They are all going diagonal.
They're all going diagonal, so we have another diagonal line like we just saw on that first page, but what makes this one different?
The y is counting by 8s.
So now I'm counting by 8s, whereas before I was counting by 10s. What else is different about this graph than the one we looked at before?
There's no like numbers between the 10 and
Yep.
and
So I don't have a scale here. Is this line increasing or decreasing?
D.
Cindy? It's increasing, it's going up. The other one I looked at started at 10 and went down. This one is also starting at your origin. Did you hear the word origin last year? Do you remember what it means? Cindy?
It's like where it meets at the bottom.
So your origin is that very, very top, bottom, middle point, 0, 0. So to be proportional, we already talked about this graph being proportional because my constant was 8. This is what your graph of a proportional relationship has to look like. Starting down at that bottom point, 0, 0, or the origin, and a nice straight diagonal line. What we looked at before was not proportional because it started up at 10. You have two conditions to be proportional. Nice straight line, and it has to start at the origin. I'm going to skip past this slide because I don't like it. So I'm going to turn your pacing off, which means you can toggle back and forth between the next two slides. And we're just going to match some things up. So I have 5 tables and 5 graphs. I want you to figure out which tables go with which graphs. If you're at home and you match up these 5, the next slide has 5 more. Okay? So if we look, I'll get us started. So start with the easiest table. Which table looks the easiest to talk about right now? Cindy? 0 to 32. Okay, so it doesn't really matter, but I definitely don't want to pick this fraction one first because we hate fractions. So table number 3 says in the science lab, there is a chart to help students convert temperatures from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So we kind of did a problem like that last week where we were converting. So I have 0 for my x, 32 for my y. So which of these graphs, A, B, C, I don't even know what letters they are. Which of these graphs has that coordinate point 0, 32? We have A, B, G, or H. Which one shows a 0 and a 32? What do we think? Sydney? Did you say this? Yes, I just heard your the math. Did you say G or D? I agree with G. If I look, I'm counting by 50s on the y-axis of graph G, but my point looks like it's at about 30, so 0, 32. I would match up chart 3 with letter G. So then take a minute to match up the other graphs. Like I said, if you're at home, I obviously can't see where exactly you are, so you are free to move through the next slide. And that fraction one seems complicated, but you can save that one for last. You match up 4, automatically you get your 5th one. So really all you have to do is look at that first row, find that point. Except graphs 2 and 5 have that same first point, so then you have to go down to the second point. if you, like some of you, whenever you match, just kind of put them near each other, but if you drop the graph on top of the table, it will connect them so that you don't, it might be a little bit easier. So let's look at. Did you do the other slide?
Yes.
Okay, we'll just wait until we go over that one. So go back to slide 4 and just hang out between and go over it. So let's start back over it. So table number 2, I have 1, 8, 2, 16, 4, 32. Table number 2 is gonna match to what? A, B, D, or H? What do we get? Sydney? B. Okay, so if I grab graph B, I can see my point. I can see my point 1, 8, 2, 16, 4, 32, and it matches. What about graph 5? I have 1, 8, 2, 10, 3, 12. Chris? A, perfect. What about chart number 1? Elena?
A.
Perfect. So then we didn't even have to think about that ugly fraction one. 4 matches with T. Okay, good with that. Because now go to the next slide and you're gonna have 5 more to do. Okay, and try to find whatever part's easiest. If there's something ugly, a fraction, do what we just did here and save that one for last. So you can see chart 9 has these ugly decimals. I don't like that. 8 has some ugly decimals too. Save that one for last.
So they just want to second the other one. So ignore that ugly decimal one. Start there. Look at 1, 1, 2, 4, 4, 16. So which of these has a 1, 1? You see? Just go through like that. I'll push it off to the side.
I'm confused. I don't have a graduation.
Flip it so that it's horizontal and then kind of.
Ah, there it is. Right.
So I'm gonna look at chart 10. Chart 10 says the area of a square is the square of its side lengths. So 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 4 times 4. So which graph represents 10? I need to point 1, comma 1, 2, comma 4, 4, 16. Chris?
J.
Graph J? I agree. Number 10 matched to J. What, RJ? You say the restroom or the nurse?
Nursing.
Either one you can go to. What about number 7? A recipe uses 2 tablespoons of honey for every 8 cups of flour. So 2, 8, 3, 12, 6, 24, 7, 28. Rich? 7 goes with F. Perfect. Number 8, she is filling her fish tank with water. Chart shows the gallons of water after how many minutes? This is an ugly one. 1, 1.6, 2, 3.2. Sydney? I didn't get C for that one. Let's put these 2 decimal ones off to the side. Let's do number 6. So 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 7. Where's number 6 go? Chris? E. So now let's get all of these off our screen and look at just those decimal ones. So I'm comparing graph I and graph C. So for number 8, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For number 9, I'm counting 10, 20, 25, 40. So which one looks like my x-axis is counting by tens? Graph I or graph C? Chris?
Let's see.
Right, so I can see my x-axis here really helping me, because those points kind of look the same, their decimal is less than 1, but I'm counting by tens, whereas over here I'm counting by ones. So I would write 9 up to C, 8 up to I. Is that what you said before? Oh my god. So just to get you practice with understanding the points, where to find them, and things like that. Are we good with that? Next question. We're gonna look at 2 of those charts from that other page. So we're just gonna look at number 7 here. It says a recipe uses 2 tablespoons of honey for every 8 cups of flour. So that's that chart that we just looked at. 2 tablespoons for 8 cups, 3 tablespoons for 12 cups. And then our question is saying, is this table proportional? So what do we think? My tablespoons of honey proportional to cups of flour. Look at the chart. Or look at your iPad. We think this table is proportional. What are we thinking? Sydney?
Yes, because 8 divided by 2 is 4, 12 divided by 3 is 4, and keep going.
Perfect. Yes, because there is a constant of proportionality of 8 cups per tablespoon. If my constant of proportionality in that table is 8, do we remember how to write equations for something like this? How do I get any number in the y column? So I take my x column and multiply it by 8. So if we wanted to write that equation down below, you would say your y column, or your number of cups of flour, is equal to 8 times the number of tablespoons. So you get y equals 8x. Try to do that same thing for the next table. Tell me if it's proportional. Either way, whether it is or is not, try to write a rule for that table. So we didn't really see one like that yet, so I'm gonna see if you can figure it out. Tell me if it's proportional. If it's not, still try to write a rule. Think about how we're getting all of those numbers. $2 per person plus the extra 6. So we did a problem like that. Try to remember what we did. What math were we doing? So what are we thinking about number 5? Yes or no? Good or bad? More than just Sydney or Chris? Proportional or not proportional? What do we think? What'd you say? I want to leave off on What do we get? What's 8 divided by 1? I'm not gonna pick either of the 2 kids with their hands up. No offense to those, to 2 of you. What's 8 divided by 1? Heather. 8. What's 10 divided by 2? 20. No. Wait, no. 10 divided by 2, or Rich? 5. Is 8 the same thing as 5? No. So is it proportional? No. But now I'm asking, how can we still write a rule for that table? So we're gonna think about what the problem says. Entrance to a state park costs $6 and then $2 per person. So every time a person shows up, they pay $2. So 2 times the number of people. How much money do they also have to pay when they show up? It's $2 per person, Chris?
$6.
Plus $6 no matter what. So we would say 2x for $2 per person plus 6 equals cost y. Okay? Good go to the next screen. And you're gonna see a bunch of graphs. It's just a screen of graphs. Good? Okay. So what we're gonna do is just graph our two equations that we set. So our first graph was proportional. The constant of proportionality was 4. So the first equation that we looked at was y equals 4x. So type that in on the left-hand side. Y equals 4x. Click on that bar, type it in. That's the equation that would model that table. Click on this space over here and just type in y equals 4x. Are we okay with typing that in? You okay?
You are changing this.
Now we're gonna graph the other one, so just hit enter, so you can type in a new line. And for that second chart, or that second table, we said that the cost was equal to $2 times the number of people. So it was $2 per person, but then how much else did we pay? Chris? So then we have to add in that +6. So what happens when you add in the +6? What happens to the graph?
It changes.
How does it change?
It makes the 6, the dot goes to 6 and just.
Sorry to explain.
I know, I'm looking at the same thing, thank you. So before it was starting down here at 0, which was good, but that extra money shot it up to the 6, which is what RJ's trying to say. So this first graph here, where I just am multiplying by 4, I don't have any of that funky addition stuff, that's my proportional graph. Starting at 0, and it's a nice straight line. Is this starting at 0? No. So anytime you have a graph starting up higher, you have some kind of extra money that you're paying or adding into it, it is not proportional. We looked at that whole table and said it's not proportional. It doesn't follow the conditions where it's a straight line starting at the origin. Your origin is this point down here. So if you're on the next screen, you're gonna answer a couple questions on your own. To be proportional, start at the bottom, has to be a straight line. If it's curved, if it's doing anything funky, doesn't count. If it starts anywhere up high, it doesn't count because it adds that extra number in. So you can go to the next slide. This you're doing on your own. You have a handful of graphs. Click if it's proportional or not proportional. And then once you click one, I'm not saying that's the right answer. Oh, I must have took off the explain. You guys are lucky. So you're just choosing if it's proportional or not proportional. Once you're done, submit. If you're at home, you can sign off. There is practice problems and an Edpuzzle uploaded for you to do. Answer key is posted for the practice problems. Come back in 9th period to sign in and check for your attendance. You have to sign in 9th period. And that's the end. Chris. As soon as you just hit submit, I get it saved. So you don't have to actually like submit it anymore. So just like submit your, like click your answers. There's not like an actually submit button. Just answer the questions and then you're gonna be done.
There you go, I did it.
Good, then you're done.
No.
Bingo.
You just like,
Yeah, so some of you are gonna do your STAR test. Some of you, if you did your STAR test, will just get started on your homework.
There is no practical, there is only a puzzle.
Well, this time, that's my book bag, my dad will give it.
So again, those of you that are at home, once you type in those questions, you can sign out, but you have to sign back in 9th period to get marked for attendance. And then you can get started on those other independent assignments.